Welcome to EnterTalk Media. We're broadcasting live on the EnterTalk Media page. My name is Florentino. I'm the host of the Changing Stage show, which we are doing right now, and I'm also the CEO of EnterTalk Media. And we are talking big picture with thought leaders in the music instrument space, and we have one of the most innovative ones, I think. I'm definitely impressed by the technology. Ian Robinson from Blackstar Amps. I just say kick ass because these amps really rock. Ian, welcome to the Changing Stage show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, thank you. And thank you for bringing some Brit class to the stage here.
Absolutely. We'll see about that.
So let's just jump right into it.
Yeah.
This has been a very, that's why the Changing Stage show. It's been a very fluctuating industry. Dynamics. We were just talking about guitar sales are up. Give me your thoughts on the state of the music industry, both music instrument channel as well as a whole. What you're getting the feedback from your players of the year.
Yeah. So I think there's a difference between the way that the MI business is progressing, and necessarily the sentiment in the wider market about the desire for people to play.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of fundamental probably to the chat that you're having with people.
Yeah.
Is that more and more people want to play, and I think even younger people want to play and be involved, but getting that conversion from a desire to be involved and people actually playing is really the challenge for the industry.
Interesting.
So I think generally the overall industry is growing.
Yeah.
My little part of it, which is guitar amplifiers, which is associated with guitars, that has been difficult since really the economic crash.
Yeah.
Since Blackstar launched, it's been a difficult market.
Yeah.
But that's starting to come better, and more people are playing guitar right now.
Why do you think that is?
Why is that?
Why do you think they're growing?
I think something to do with fashion. I think that there's been a balance between, over the last 10 years, acoustic sales have really been strong.
Yeah.
And I think that we're starting now to see a balancing off of that, with more people being interested in playing electric. I mean, the simple thing is, I guess a lot of the people who've been playing acoustic are thinking, what's this electric thing about, maybe?
Yeah.
I think maybe people coming, so you've got younger people getting into it as beginners, you've got people converting over from acoustic, and maybe you're always going to have people who used to play who are coming back to it. Yeah. So there's people our age, a lot of people I know, a lot of my friends, in their late 30s, 40s, early 50s, they're coming back to it. They strummed a few chords when they were younger, and they're coming back to it now because they've got more leisure time. So I think the future's good, actually. The fact that older people who are into doing that, I think that's a good thing for the industry. People sometimes say, the aging demographic's a bad thing, but you know what? Not necessarily, because people like that have money to spend as well.
Well, I've seen a lot of growth in the school age market, where they're wanting to have something more real. We talked about that, wanting something more real. So I agree with you 100% that.
Yeah, I know it's really interesting as well is that most parents would prefer their children to be doing something other than playing on their PlayStation or Xbox.
Yeah.
And actually my experience, I have two young kids, 9 and 10. Our friends, most of them have kids around the same age, and all of them have musical instruments in the house.
Yeah.
I lose track of the amount of emails I get. Can you get me one of these, or get me a drum kit, or get me one of these? All our friends, and I think it's a general thing. People would prefer their kids doing something more sort of positive and beneficial than just sitting in front of a PlayStation all day.
One of the things, though, I'd like to see personally is more engagement with players. I think you and I growing up playing music, we didn't have YouTube, so we couldn't just go look on how do you play that song.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're doing that is great, but it's a challenge in itself that they're not engaging one another. They're engaging a one-directional type of piece of content. So that is a challenging thing. I think. we're trying to figure out the answers, and that's one of the things that we were hoping. I mean, we're not going to do this on a show or even a series of shows, but we're hoping to gauge people.
Do you know what's really interesting? I'm a member of the board of the MIA, which is Music Industry Association in the UK, and from time to time, every few years, we engage and talk about our mission statement for the next period. And we were discussing recently about the responsibility of the industry to bring more players to the market and to promote more players. You know, there's a school of thought that is maybe the number one KPI for an organisation like MIA or NAMM would be how many musicians there are within the population who are actively engaged. You know, and the debate.
There's only 150,000 professional musicians in the United States. With all the music, there's 100,000 people here, but there's only 150,000 people in the whole United States that play. That are professionals. The U.S. Census. So
mate, you know, and every year. So this is really interesting. Some studies that have been done in the UK about the number of people who aspire to play is higher than ever. You know, you're talking about 75 to 80% of the population want to play an instrument. Now, the amount of people who actually take up an instrument is much lower, and the amount that continue to play is lower still. I do feel that it is part of the industry's responsibility to coordinate to make that happen. And some companies, you know, like Fender do with Play, for instance, you know, all of us try our, you know, do our bit towards that, but it's quite disparate. Everybody's doing different stuff, and I think the industry getting more coordinated on this stuff is really, really important.
And that's a great segue, because Blackstar does so much for the industry. Specifically, what are you guys doing right now to help grow the industry and get them aware of what Blackstar can do?
So we had like a similar program to Play, which has been going on for like many years, actually, for maybe 5 years.
So education program?
Yes, absolutely. So that's something that we've been engaged with for a long time, and we've got lots of free online lessons which people can engage with. Obviously, that's kind of transitioned because, as you mentioned earlier, YouTube, there's so much stuff that's available.
It is, but I think the challenge. I think is it's usually kind of peer-to-peer, unless you get like I can't remember the bass player Scott. He's doing great things, and there's other innovators that way. I had Don Lombardi from DW on earlier. And he's doing some very cool things from an education standpoint. And I think it's very much in line. It all starts with education.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very different in the UK than in the US in some regards. Historically in the UK, music has been taught as a curriculum piece. I don't know in the US how that is, but everybody learnt an instrument up until about 10 years ago.
About 10 years ago, they started taking out of schools, and you had to go out and do it yourself. So for the kids that didn't have the money, they couldn't do it. So that's a blessing that we have YouTube. But when you have a teacher, there's an engagement piece that you're playing with another human being, and that's the part I think we need to kind of work on.
You're right. So I had a few real guitar lessons when I was a kid, and they've affected, you know, the way my whole approach for the whole of my whatever, you know, musical life, as it were. You only need a few one-to-one lessons, and that can set you in good stead for the rest of your career.
Exactly.
So actually, Blackstar is like the rest of the industry in a way in the UK, is that we're adjusting now to a point where previously the responsibility for providing music education was done by the government in the UK, which is probably typical of Europe, whereas nowadays it's transitioning to it being private institutions who are doing that. So us getting used to supporting the private institutions is what we're doing more of now. And also something that the musical MIA does, which is really cool, is they have a charity called Music for All. I don't know if you've heard about this.
I haven't yet. No,
so it's the charitable arm of the MIA, and they supply musical instruments to underprivileged children. And they do a huge amount of work. Tens of thousands of instruments are distributed out into the market for people who would just not have an opportunity to do that, and that's something that Blackstar supports. But to tell you the truth, I think what's being done is just is only a small step.
Yeah, it's just a tip on the iceberg.
Absolutely. So. And to tell you the truth, one thing is doing it for underprivileged kids, but actually, all kids, I think, kind of deserve that opportunity to be involved in music because it has so many benefits. And I think that's something that we'd like to get the industry more coordinated on doing. Something we are actively involved with at the moment.
That is awesome. Well, we've got a little bit of time left. Let's talk a little bit about what you guys are doing here right now. We're at the NAMM 2020, so Blackstar always has an innovation to help power the industry. Tell us about that innovation.
So my background is an electronic engineer. The company was founded by 4 like-minded product guys. So
that's jammed out.
Yeah, that's what we do. It's kind of intrinsic to what we do. We do have a mission statement that says we provide innovative products that inspire people. So it's kind of what we are about. You're right. We're constantly in the UK. We have a large-ish for our size R&D team. Never enough engineers, but we've got lots of engineers in the UK. And I think we're constantly looking at new ways to make the playing experience more creative. To be honest with you, I think it's interesting as a business. Over 12 years, in the early days, we had 3-4 years of no products in the market, no product line to look after.
Wow.
So we were very innovative in the early days because we had 4 years basically in my garage, blue sky thinking, let's say. Whatever that meant. And I think as we progressed, we've used a lot of that technology that we had in the early days. And now I think this is the same for most companies in our industry, the established companies, is getting the balance between maintaining the product offering that we have and spending the time within R&D to do the real blue sky things. Because the blue sky stuff is the stuff that we're really passionate about. That's the stuff we know we should be doing. But maintaining the product catalogue is always a challenge.
Now, when you're doing the blue sky stuff, how much are you bringing in the voice of the musicians, whether they're the top players or the guys who are just starting out? Are you engaging them in that process a lot?
That's really interesting. So a starting point is that out of the 43 people who work for Blackstar, probably 35 are guitar players. So
Lauren being one of them.
Absolutely. And a very, very diverse range of styles and ages and demographics, all that. So we have a really good pool of ideas and people to bounce ideas off. Also, through our distributors, retailers, we have more opinions that we can go out to and talk about what would be interesting. I think it's quite interesting, again, something that we're trying to do more of is what you're talking about, is talking to actual players and watching actual players use their equipment. It sounds really obvious for a product development company that we would watch our guitarists use amps and go, well, maybe if they didn't have to do that and they could do this, then there's a new idea. But actually, we don't spend as much time as we should, and that's something we want to do more of. So I have more sort of kind of focus group activity, but it's not quite as formal as that. And also including end users in the whole development cycle, from initial market research through to literally post-production, is something that we do, but we need to do more of.
And I think that's something that's across the board for the music industry. We've gotten used to being and playing with the people in our circle. That the internet and technology is allowing us the ability to go out into the world and speak to them. So,
mate, do you know? I think the most important thing in a way about all that is, from a guitar and guitar amp point of view and stuff, is to be frank, the sounds that people use and the products that we use are fundamentally the same as they've been for the last 60 years.
In fact, people want that sound back then now.
And our mission really is to try and give people new ways of using a guitar to make music. And I think that's where maybe that's where we should all be focusing on, because I find it slightly controversially, but you know, if I see there's a lot of young kids learning to play guitar, a lot of them are learning to play a blues style pentatonic with the same guitar sound as people were doing 30 years ago, which is cool and great. But also, I'd love them to be thinking about when I was growing up as a player. A lot of the conversation was around innovation in playing as well, playing styles, trying different stuff.
All the prog stuff that came out of the grid.
It's sound like those guys did 30 years ago. And I think, again, as an industry, that's something I'd like Blackstar to be a bit more maverick about and say, don't just try and be what you heard 30 years ago. Let's try and create something new.
I think that's great because right now with YouTube, the big, you know, if you're not Bruno Mars or somebody of that stature, the people that are getting a lot of play on YouTube, millions of plays, usually doing somebody else's songs. The original that they put out doesn't get that million views if they're what they call an influencer, right? So I think that's important. I think as an industry, it'd be great for us to kind of help empower that. I know we only have like a minute left.
Okay.
Last thought: what do you want to share with the viewing audience about Blackstar and what you guys are doing here?
Okay, so obviously we'll launch some great products. There's a lot more to come. We're focusing more and more on this blue sky stuff. We're really fortunate that we have both the analog and digital side covered. And I think especially on the digital side, we're limited only by our own imagination as a company with what we can do. So I'd like to think that over the next 3 to 5 years, you'll see more products come from us that are a bit more left field, and maybe us to start to take more risks again. Because I think we owe it, all of us owe it to the industry to try and renew and not just keep on doing the same stuff. So that's what we're about, and that's what my mission is with the business.
And I believe in it, sir.
Nice one, mate.
So thank you very much, Ian Robinson, Blackstar Amp CEO.
Cheers.
My name is Florentino. I am the CEO of NAMM Media and the host of The Changing Stage. We're out till the next episode. Stay tuned.